Good morning and welcome to our worship today. Today is Palm Sunday. It marks the beginning of the most holiest of weeks. You'll be pleased to know that I'm not going to show you my face today. Instead, I want to use images. I want to use music. I want to use the words of the dramatized Passion story to prepare us for the journey that we'll go through this week. These last 40 days have been a time of preparation for the great 3 days that we have at the end of this week, the Easter Triduum. It begins with the vigil of Holy Thursday, or Maundy Thursday as it's better known. That marks the end of the 40 days and the beginning of that 3-day celebration of the death and the resurrection of Jesus. Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil. The significance of the Triduum is that Christ redeemed us all and gave perfect glory to God, principally through his paschal mystery. Dying, he destroyed our death, and rising, he restored our life. Therefore, the Easter Triduum of the Passion and Resurrection of Christ, the culmination of the entire liturgical year. So let us prepare for this journey by singing our first hymn, Ride on, in majesty.
Ride on in majesty, like all the tribes Hosanna cry. Your humble beast pastures his road, and mountains scattered garments strewed. Ride on in majesty, in lowly pomp, ride on to die. O Christ, your triumphs now begin, your captive death and conquer sin. Ride on in majesty, the winged squadrons of the sky. Look down with sad and wondering eyes to see the approaching sacrifice. Ride on in majesty, the last and fiercest strife is nigh. The Father on his sapphire throne expects his own anointed Son. Ride on in majesty, in lowly pomp, ride on to die. Bow your weak heads to mortal pain, then take, O God, your power and reign. They came to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples,
Sit here while I pray.
He took Peter, James, and John with him. Distress and anguish came over him.
The sorrow in my heart is so great that it almost crushes me. Stay here and keep watch.
He went a little further on, threw himself on the ground, and prayed that, if possible, he might not have to go through that time of suffering.
Father, my Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want.
Then he returned, and found the 3 disciples asleep. He said to Peter,
Simon, are you asleep? Weren't you able to stay awake even for 1 hour?
And he said to them,
Keep watch and pray that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
He went away once more and prayed, saying the same words. Then he came back to the disciples and found them asleep. They could not keep their eyes open, and they did not know what to say to him. When he came back the 3rd time, he said to them,
Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough! The hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is now being handed over to the power of sinful men. Get up, let us go. Look, here is the man who is betraying me.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and poor content on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to His blood. See from His head, His hands, His feet, sorrow and love flow mingle down. Did as such love and sorrow meet, all thorns compose so rich a crown, were the whole realm of nature mine, but were an offering far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my own. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my own.
Jesus was taken to the high priest's house, where all the chief priests, the elders, and the teachers of the law were gathering. Peter followed from a distance and went into the courtyard of the high priest's house. There he sat down with the guards, keeping himself warm by the fire. The chief priests and the whole council tried to find some evidence against Jesus in order to put him to death, but they could not find any. Many witnesses told lies against Jesus, but their stories did not agree. Then some men stood up and told this lie against Jesus.
We heard him say, I will tear down this temple, which men have made, and after 3 days I will build one that is not made by men.
Not even they, however, could make their stories agree. The high priest stood up in front of them all and questioned Jesus.
Have you no answer to the accusation they bring against you?
But Jesus kept quiet and would not say a word. Again, the high priest questioned him.
Are you the Messiah, the Son of the blessed God?
Jesus answered,
I am, and you will all see the Son of Man seated on the right hand of the Almighty, coming with the clouds of heaven.
The high priest tore his robes.
We don't need any more witnesses. You heard his blasphemy. What is your decision?
They all voted against him. He was guilty and should be put to death. Some of them began to spit on Jesus, and they blindfolded him and hit him, and they said,
Guess who hit you?
and the guards took him and slapped him. Peter was still down in the courtyard when one of the high priest's servant girls came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she looked straight at him and said,
You too were with Jesus of Nazareth.
I don't know. I don't understand what you're talking about.
And he went out into the passage. Just then, a cock crowed.
The servant girl saw him there and began to repeat to the bystanders,
"He is one of them."
But Peter denied it again. A little while later, the bystanders accused Peter again.
You can't deny that you are one of them, because you, too, are from Galilee.
I swear that I am telling the truth. I do not know the man you are talking about.
Just then, a cock crowed a second time, and Peter remembered how Jesus had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you will say 3 times that you do not know me." And he broke down and cried.
My song is love unknown, my Saviour's love to me, love to the loveless shown, that they might love me be. Oh, am I, that for my sake, my flesh and take no flesh and die. He came from his blessed throne, salvation to bestow, but they made strange and none the longed for Christ would know. But oh, my friend indeed, who at my need his life did spend. Sometimes they strew his way, and his sweet praises sing, resounding all the day, hosannas to the King. They crucify his for their breath, and for his death they thirst and cry. Why, what has my Lord done? What makes this rage and spite? He made the lame to run, he gave the blind their sight. Sweet injuries, yet they had these, themselves displeased and against him rise. In life no house, no home, my Lord on earth might have, in death no friendly tomb, but what a stranger gave. What may I say, and was his home, but mine the tomb wherein he lay. Here might I stay and sing, no story so divine. Never was love decaying, never was grief like thine. This is my friend, in her sweet praise, I all my days would gladly spend.
Early in the morning, the chief priests met hurriedly with the elders, the teachers of the law, and the whole council, and made their plans. They put Jesus in chains, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him.
Are you the king of the Jews?
Jesus answered.
So you say.
The chief priests were accusing Jesus of many things, so Pilate questioned him again.
Aren't you going to answer? Listen to the accusation.
Again, Jesus refused to say a word, and Pilate was amazed. At every Passover festival, Pilate was in the habit of setting free any one prisoner the people asked for. At that time, a man named Barabbas was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder in the riot. When the crowd gathered and began to ask Pilate for the usual favour, he asked them,
Do you want me to set free for you the king of the Jews?
He knew very well that the chief priests had handed Jesus over to him because they were jealous. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to ask, instead, for Pilate to set Barabbas free for them. Pilate spoke again to the crowd.
What then do you want me to do with the one you call the King of the Jews?
They shouted back.
Crucify him!
But what crime has he committed?
They shouted all the louder.
Crucify him!
Pilate wanted to please the crowd, so he set Barabbas free for them. Then he had Jesus whipped and handed him over to be crucified. The soldiers took Jesus inside to the courtyard of the governor's palace and called together the rest of the company. They put a purple robe on Jesus, made a crown out of thorny branches, and put it on his head. Then they began to salute him.
Long live the King of Jews.
They beat him over the head with a stick, spat on him, fell on their knees and bowed down to him. When they had finished mocking him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes back on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. On the way, they met a man named Simon, who was coming into the city from the country, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. Simon was from Cyrene, and was the father of Alexander and Rufus. They took Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. There they tried to give him wine mixed with a drug called myrrh, but Jesus would not drink it. Then they crucified him and divided his clothes amongst themselves, throwing dice to see who would get which piece of clothing. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The notice of the accusation against him said,
"The King of the Jews."
They also crucified 2 bandits with Jesus, one on his right and the other on his left. People passing by shook their heads and hurled insults at Jesus.
Aha!
You were going to tear down the temple and build it up again in 3 days.
Now come down from the cross and save yourself.
In the same way, the chief priests and the teachers of the law jeered at Jesus, saying to each other,
He saved others, but he cannot save himself.
Let us see the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now. We will believe in him.
And the 2 who were crucified with Jesus insulted him also. At noon, the whole country was covered with darkness, which lasted for 3 hours. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud shout,
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani,
which means, my God, why did you abandon me? Some of the people there heard him and said,
Listen, he is calling for Algiah.
One of them ran up with a sponge, soaked it in cheap wine, and put it on the end of a stick. Then he held it up to Jesus' lips and said,
Wait, let us and see if Elijah is coming to bring him down from the cross.
With a loud cry, Jesus died. The curtain hanging in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The army officer who was standing there in front of the cross saw how Jesus had died, and he said,
This man was really the Son of God.